As members of the Global Farmer Network,
we believe agriculture is part of the solution,
not part of the problem.
We are committed to developing agricultural leaders
and sharing their stories across the globe.
We have one purpose:
to amplify the farmer's voice.
My voice.
Mi voz.
La mia voce.
My voice.
Welcome to Global Farmer Voices, a podcast by the Global Farmer Network where we invite farmers from around the world to share their stories and perspectives. Hello, I'm Delaney Howell, host of this podcast series, and we're thrilled to continue the celebration of our 25th anniversary, a milestone year for the Global Farmer Network. Each month, we plan to continue highlighting some great themes, showcasing how our members have shown up over the last 25 years. This June, we're celebrating 25 years of connecting and convening, a milestone that honors the power of bringing together farmers across borders, cultures, and generations. To mark this moment, we're spotlighting Derek Matthews, a multi-generational farmer from South Africa and longtime Global Farmer Network member. Derek has dedicated his career to collaboration, from serving on the board of Grain SA to actively participating in farmer cooperatives. He believes that progress in agriculture begins when farmers listen, learn, and lead. Whether it's working alongside his family or advocating for fellow producers, Derek embodies the spirit of unity that drives the Global Farmer Network's mission. Hear from Derek today as he shares what connecting with others means to him and how collaboration has shaped his life on and off the farm.
My family acquired this land back in 1879 and basically been farming it since then. So it passed on generations down. And this particular farm, the original settlement was on a neighboring farm. And this particular farm, this homestead was built in 1920 by my grandfather. And each family that's lived in it since then has adapted and changed the house that we're living in, to suit their needs, their modern day needs and so on. So yeah, we've raised three kids. They're all three married. We have 4 grandchildren at the moment. My son has joined me on the farm. He's been with us for a number of years already and is steadily taking over the business.
Derek and his family live in Silverton, a rural town in South Africa's Northwest Province. Their multi-generational farm is deeply rooted in tradition, where crops, livestock, and family have long been woven together, shaping both their livelihood and way of life.
The farm has traditionally always been a corn farm. We talk about maize or mealies in South Africa. That's been our main crop. We've always had livestock enterprises ranging from dairy, piggery, sheep, and beef cattle. At the moment, we're running some sheep. We're running a piggery, very small. We also have some game. It's called plains game. The particular type of buck is called a bless buck. It has a white mark on the front of its forehead. They're not domesticated. They're wild animals, but at the moment, it's the most financially suitable land use for that particular area of land on the farm that I have. Raising livestock like cattle or sheep on that land just doesn't make financial sense at the moment, but the game certainly is doing very well and with a minimum of maintenance and so on. So we're running a mixed cropping operation at the moment. Our main crops have become oilseeds, which comprise of sunflower and soybeans. The biggest acreage would be to sunflowers, and then the second biggest acreage goes back to corn. Then the third biggest acreage goes to peanuts. Then after the peanuts comes soybeans. We also did grain sorghum this year, and we also grew some teff grass, but for seed production, not for hay production.
Over time and generations, Derek's farm has changed in practices, leadership, and even what crops are grown. What originally was a corn-focused operation has gradually grown into something more diverse. That diversification is based on what the land can give and what the markets can bear. But even with Derek's careful planning, there is always risk to farming, and usually weather has the final say.
The soybean crop was great, except that we were about halfway through the harvest and we had a hailstorm, and that knocked out 50% of the crop onto the ground, which is quite a serious loss on that half of the soybean crop. But nevertheless, the soybeans are an important part of our cropping mix at the moment. This crop that we're harvesting now is no less than my 43rd crop. I've done this 43 times over. I think Michael John is quite capable of running it and building his future now. So I look forward to sharing that time with him.
As Derek reflects on the highs and lows of this season, it's clear that every decision he's made is shaped by climate. Yet the climate in South Africa isn't the same everywhere. With varying elevations and growing conditions, what works on Derek's farm might look different on a farm even just a few kilometers away. Different seasons, different environments, they all create opportunities for farmers like Derek to connect, share, and learn from one another. Derek's connection to farming runs deeper, though, than just the land itself. His family's involvement in organized agriculture has been part of his heritage for generations. Farming and community leadership aren't just roles he stepped into. They're a part of who he is. Growing up in a household that placed an emphasis on leadership, Derek learned early on the power of coming together and convening to drive positive change, a tradition he continues to carry forward today.
In South Africa, agriculture is organized in various ways. Now, traditionally, and when I say traditionally, I'm talking about in my dad's time, my granddad's time, and so on. In the years of the agricultural industry in South Africa's development, you must understand South Africa is not such an old country. It's quite new by the measure of Europe or the US for that matter. So agriculture has been developing sort of since the early 1900s. The agriculture actually became industrialized, that it wasn't just pioneer farming. My great-grandfather's brother was the founder and first chairman of the local agricultural cooperative, NWK. So the family has been involved in organized agriculture and driving these kind of changes and initiatives all along, you know. So you grow up with it and it becomes, I almost want to say, kind of second nature. My grandfather has always been a member of the cooperative, so has my father been. And since my very first day on the farm, I've been a member of the cooperative. I've not served on any of the cooperative boards, but I've been a very active cooperative member. Basically, where necessary, promoting the cooperative principle, the principles of working together to face difficult challenges, because that's why ultimately the co-op was formed. The first chairman of NWK saw the benefit of working together, pooling resources in order to ensure that resilience that you're talking about, and certainly has proven to be the right recipe to grow, particularly the cropping industry in our area, tremendously since then.
Looking back to the 1980s and 90s in South Africa, various farming organizations and cooperatives were being formed at this time. The National Maize Producers, NOPA, which represented soybeans, sunflower, and groundnut producers, the Wheat Producers Organization, and the Sorghum Producers Organizations, all came together to form what is now Grain SA. Where was Derek during all of this history? Standing at the forefront to help bring those groups together. As Derek recently wrapped up his board term with Grain SA earlier this year, he shared that he was one of the few members left that still held some of that tacit knowledge of the way things were before those groups were brought together. But working together is a principle that has helped grow the cropping industry tremendously in Derek's region, and is a principle he has embraced throughout his time as a cooperative member. it's also a principle Derek brings to the Global Farmer Network. At the end of this year, the GFN is hosting a mobilization event in South Africa, where attendees will learn more about South African agriculture and connect with others from around the world to learn more about how agriculture is done globally.
I was actually quite astounded. I was thinking, well, by all measures, there are far more exciting countries that could be visited agriculturally now, that could be visited than South Africa. But at the same time, incredibly proud that we could actually host it. I know that in South Africa, we have a tremendous amount of agricultural success that we can be extremely proud of. And I've been very privileged to meet with farmers around the world, basically through the Global Farm Network.
While Derek takes great pride in South Africa's agricultural success, what truly inspires him is the global community he's become a part of through the Global Farmer Network. It's this network that has opened doors to opportunities beyond the farm, to places where farmers from around the world come together to share stories, challenges, solutions, and ultimately connect and convene.
And this is how I got involved with what was called at the time the Truth About Trade and Technology, and was absolutely privileged and amazed at being invited to join the Global Farmer Roundtable at the Truth About Trade and Technology Convention. I felt tremendously privileged to be sitting in a room with farmers from all over the world and being amazed at how common our stories were. Absolutely astounding. And we're all complaining about exactly the same things. Not necessarily complaining, but dealing with the same issues. From governments that don't want to listen, to climate conditions, to the cost of equipment and the cost of inputs. And it's just amazing how similar farmer stories around the world are. And I found very much a kinship. Now, there have been a number of farmers that have joined the Global Farmer Network from South Africa. So when Mary approached me, I thought, why me? But at the same time, privileged that she considered that I could help, and offered, with my connections at Granny SA and being involved at the time, perhaps we could pull it off and make it work.
When Mary Boot, the current CEO and one of the founders of the Global Farmer Network, reached out to Derek for support for the mobilization event, he didn't hesitate. Recognizing the importance of funding and resources, Derek stepped up to leverage his extensive network. His role was clear: connecting with the people who make the key decisions and helping bring together the right partners to make this mobilization event happen.
What I can do is connect you with the people who do make those decisions. That I can do. And I have done. Because agriculture is amazingly common. I mean, Bayer is Bayer. Whether it's in the US or South Africa, Bayer is Bayer. John Deere is John Deere. They're all multinational companies. And they are our main input suppliers. So that conversation is going to take place at different levels, and for very different reasons. A local implement supplier, for instance, is going to ask the question of an event like that is, how many South African farmers are going to be there? Well, sadly, I'm going to say not very many. But they're going to have exposure to international farmers from all over the world, which doesn't mean a lot for a local business. It means a lot more for a multinational like Bayer, John Deere. Means it's a completely different conversation. What I also can do is I have some farmer friends around in our region. I have friends around in the grain business around the country. And we can put together farm visits, which I know they're more interested by the farm visits than what they're interested in the conference actually happening. They want to see how our farmers doing it, how are these guys doing. I remember we undertook a study group tour with our local study group to Brazil and Argentina. And even to this day, I'm using things that I learned on farms in Argentina. Fantastic just approaches to feedlotting, which is just amazing, and things like that, which we apply on the farm. And that unlocks real value for farmers. And that's why farmers are inclined to attend these type of events because by getting to know each other and getting a view, a sneak peek on how people in different corners of the world tackle these problems gives you a little bit of an edge on a day when you don't think you have it, which is fantastic to be part of.
Understanding a country's agricultural system like South Africa is more than just stepping onto a field. It's about connecting with a way of life that's deeply rooted in community, culture, innovation, and resilience. South Africa, like so many other countries, has had a challenging history, and Derek recognizes that might shape people's perception of the country. But he also knows the value of connecting people to the land and those who farm it, and being able to see firsthand the perspective of a South African farmer may help others be able to understand the challenges they've faced and others face around the world.
South Africa is a wonderful place. It really, really is a wonderful place. I know that right now in America, the media and the politics and what is going on in South Africa, as a proud South African farmer, it's actually quite embarrassing. Are we going to see civil war? Is what? And a lot of people upped and left the country. Well, now, it was in 1994, in May of 1994, that my granddad's brother, Uncle Eddie, turned 100 years old. And we took a photograph of 4 generations. It was Uncle Eddie and my father and myself and my son. Excuse me if I get a little emotional about it, but it was quite something. And I realized in that moment of taking the photograph that Uncle Eddie had experienced everything from candles and donkeys to a man on the moon, a private computer, a television set, a motor vehicle, a tarred road, and everything in his lifetime. The family have been on their farm through every political dispensation, through all that climate can throw at you, through all the great diseases in the world, both the great wars and all the local wars, and there's nothing wrong with the farm. You adapt to current circumstances and you move on. That's where resilience is born. When my dad said to me one day, I said, Dad, I've been working for 5 years and I have nothing to show for it. One drought after the other. What am I doing? I want to get married. What am I doing? And my dad didn't actually have an answer. And he said to me, my boy, all I can tell you is carry on. Just keep on going. Because it isn't over until you decide it's over. And understand one thing. When you decide it's over, just know this, then it's really over. You will never get an opportunity to farm again. Not because I'm giving you the opportunity, but because it just simply probably will be a bridge too far. So carry on. Might be difficult now, but carry on. Turns out 35, 38 years later, I had exactly the same conversation with my son. And what could I tell him other than just keep on? Just keep on going. And that's why I'm still in South Africa. And I've never, ever regretted that decision. And I don't think I ever will regret that decision. I managed to educate all my children through private school education, as well as the best universities. And Michael John even went and spent a summer on a H-2A visa working on a farm in North Dakota. We have a very good market. We're at the brink of doing something that has not been done in the world. We are busy experimenting on our soybean contract with multiple reference points. So we have a linear computing model that can calculate the actual cost of opportunity cost between production point and consumption point, and that will stabilize the fair value of grain moved tremendously. It's a phenomenal system that's been worked out. We have a huge amount of things to be extremely proud of in South Africa, and that makes me excited to invite farmers from all over the world to come show them that no matter what, if you persevere, you can make it work. Farmers will always find a way to make it work. Just get the politicians to stand aside and assist you rather than standing away.
Derek's story is ultimately one of connection across generations, cultures, and geography, and across shared values in agriculture. From walking his own land with his son to sitting alongside farmers from Uruguay, Ireland, and the Philippines, Derek embodies the spirit of convening that lies at the heart of the Global Farmer Network. His deep-rooted belief in the power of gathering, whether through local cooperatives, study groups, or international roundtables, reminds us that progress in farming doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when farmers come together, share honestly, and learn from one another. Derek continues to lead by example, showing how building bridges between people, places, and perspectives creates lasting impact far beyond the farm gate. It's clear that the past 25 years have created a lasting legacy of support, knowledge sharing, and unity within the Global Farmer Network. From the global roundtables that bring farmers together to the practical advice that transcends borders, the organization has made a profound impact, and we can't wait to see what the next 25 years will bring. If you're interested in learning more about the Global Farmer Network's mission and its members, seeing some of the things the organization is doing, and finding out how you can get involved, please visit globalfarmernetwork.org. And if you'd like to support the Global Farmer Network through a donation, you can do so at globalfarmernetwork.org/donate. If you enjoyed the podcast today, be sure to subscribe and follow the Global Farmer Network on social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Delaney Howell, and this has been the Global Farmer Voices podcast.